Today on the Paul Harrell program, it's Taco Tuesday, so have some Mexican food in honor of Hakeem Jeffries. Is America enslaved by rogue intel agencies? If they can spy on Trump, Congress, and the American people, but no one goes to jail regardless of who we vote for, then yes, the answer would be yes. It means the people don't actually control the government. And the CIA released documents reminding us of the Biden crime family's Ukrainian escapades. Paid is the operative word there. Also, Pam Bondi was on Capitol Hill today testifying in the Senate Judiciary Committee, where she once again told us that the Epstein client list isn't real, or there is no Epstein client list. The question is, do you believe her? The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, folks, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. This is the Paul Harrell program. I'm once again joined by my co-host, Rob Spencer. We got a lot to get to today.
Paul, it's an honor to be here as always, and I appreciate the time. Obviously, we've got a lot of stuff happening. Pam Bondi went to Capitol Hill today and answered a lot of questions about, the senators, the Democratic senators wanted to have a lot of gotcha moments with Pam today. And I think from every clip that I've seen, she held her own. I think she did an excellent job. And then, unfortunately, as we know, this marks the 2-year anniversary of October 7th, and the massacre that happened, on the Israelis, and we've seen that the horrors of Hamas is unrelenting. So, we mourn that and hope that there's an end to this conflict as soon as possible. I think if anybody's going to be able to get it done, it's going to be Trump. Well, we've just seen so much kind of the news. It's going to be hard to, we were talking about what the show's going to be today, and there's tons of stuff to get to, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting enough, I mean, on the October 7th thing, one of the viral clips that's been going around in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination is, Charlie Kirk being very skeptical about the attack in the first place, and how, it was one of the most secure borders in the world, if not the most secure border in the world, and still a lot of questions about was there a stand-down order or something like that when that happened. But to your larger point, the bloodshed that has gone on since then is absolutely. I saw some video the other day of just how I don't think about it enough. Honestly, I want peace over there. I want the bloodshed. I want the killing to stop all around, but the devastation over there is immense. Yeah. And I don't see those images enough, I guess. And so it's kind of one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. But it is a serious issue.
I have a hard time believing that biblical Jews are intentionally committing a genocide as they are being constantly accused of. Are they doing things that, are they conducting this war, this conflict, in a way that maybe they shouldn't, or that I wish that they would change, or whatever? Nobody wants to see innocent children dying, especially if you have children. The thought of innocent children, even if it is Palestinians or some person like you have no connection to them whatsoever. Mm-hmm. There's something. It's always extra tragic when you think about children, right?
100%.
And if the conflict can come to an end, rather than the finger pointing left and right, left and right, left and right, if the conflict can come to an end, and these children, the future of the world, will stop dying, then I think the world is a better place.
100%.
So,
yeah. Pray for just all around. Certainly pray for peace. So where do we want to start right now? I mentioned it was Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday.
The mariachi bands have not yet decided to follow Charlie around.
I'm going to tell you
this. I'm sorry, Hakeem Jeffries around.
Yeah. So I had this story. We were talking about Charlie Kirk off air, and just some updates on all of that stuff. But what's interesting to me on a lighter note, I've got this friend a former friend, I would say. I haven't seen him in 30 years. And he was a friend in high school. He's very much a liberal, just kind of following him on social media. And I'll say his name because I won't say his last name. But I'll say his first name because I don't think he'll watch this. But his name was DJ. His name was DJ. And I can't imagine he's watching a conservative news talk show. But anyway, so basically DJ, there was this running joke where we would ask DJ if he was mad. Okay. Dude is literally just walks into literature class.
You mad, bro? What's wrong?
You're like, dang, DJ, why are you mad? Like you would just constantly
gaslight him.
Yeah, basically. You would gaslight him. And Paul, what we would do is we would ask him this. I haven't thought about this in years. I can't believe this. We would ask him that so much that he would get mad. Mm-hmm. Like he would be so furious. Now here's the thing. We knew that if we asked him enough times, he would start getting mad. He would legitimately start getting mad. So being guys, and I try to tell my wife about this all the time, like boys are different. Like they're going to be mean to each other. Mm-hmm. We do that, but we're fine the next day. Yeah. Like we can get in a fight one day and we're fine the next day. We're going to be mean to him and make him mad. Right now, Hakeem Jeffries has sent up the flag that this bothers him.
Yeah.
Okay. That if he would have been like, whatever, man, and they probably this episode would have passed. But right now, he has proven that he's bothered by it. So they're going to keep on with this.
Well, it's like bullying 101. Like, don't let them know that it bothers you.
Oh yeah.
And once you let them know that it bothers you, then there they are.
Disgusting and racist attacked and all. It's like what's racist about it?
Yeah, he thought Timu Obama or Dollar General Obama was bad, and now he's this forever. I mean, and I still want the mariachi band. Somebody needs to hire a mariachi band to jump out. Be careful.
Yeah.
Maybe don't jump out, but
Well, I mean, he's the minority leader in the House. He's probably got some protection. You don't want to.
You got Trump coming out to the, hail to the chief, He comes out.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this right now. Was there ever anything like this with Nancy Pelosi that you can remember?
There was a meme. No, not like this. There was a meme about her on the beach in a bathing suit. That was actually her, I think. And people were pretty crass about that.
The only thing that I've ever seen with Nancy is like the pills, like that she was like, we just got to pass this bill to see what's in there, and it's like, wait a minute, did you take too many Vicodin today or something? Whatever. But none of that stuff has stuck. Okay, 10 years from now, I can see pictures of Hakeem Jeffries, and he's going to be in a sombrero eating a taco.
They've made him famous.
Dude,
He's now more famous for this, I think, than being the minority leader of the House. So, all right. So here's the topic of the show today. Are we actually enslaved? What I mean by this, and I don't mean to be clickbaity or sensational or anything like that, but it's something that's bothering me generally. I've said it before, but if nobody goes to jail for all these crimes that are being exposed, it seems like on a daily basis, then are we really free people? And I think the answer is no. If we get down 3-4 years down the road and nobody's paid for this, aside from the fact we've talked about we're now facing full communism and the retribution from them on us is going to be so swift, I just think generally we need to think about the 30,000-foot view. Do we actually control the government? And look, I know there's some things in the intel community that are going to always, you got to keep close to the chest because national security. But these are just blatant crimes. I mean, these are blatant comic book villain-style, James Bond villain-style crimes. We've got them dead to rights in terms of the documents, everything. If no one goes to jail, what kind of message does that send to the American people other than you don't matter, you're slaves? That's where I'm at with it.
Well, what it proves is that what the Democrats have been screaming is true when they say no one is above the law, no one is above the law. And you're like, well, thank you for saying that. I'm sorry, I said it's true. It's not true because the Democrats have proven, and now the Republicans being in power may have also proven that there are some people above the law. And that is the ruling class, the three-letter agencies, all of this stuff. If there's not a perp walk of FBI agents who were literally working against the president in his first term, and even so much so that they've been working against him in the first 10 months of this second term, if there's not a perp walk of an FBI agent, or at least an indictment, something, then that's just saying, okay, we don't like what you did, we may fire you or something like that, even though what you did was criminal. Mm-hmm. And if somebody else you were investigating did what you did, then they would be arrested. They would be in prison right now. We've seen so much of this crap, Paul, where you are above the law. We've seen it. We know that you have that belief because the proof is in the pudding. If there are not arrests, I agree with you. We don't have a nation. We are robots being told what to do.
Yep. Very much like livestock.
How the heck has Fauci not been perp walked?
There you go. That's exactly right. You're exactly right. And they're going to say you got a pardon, but we found out all of this stuff about the auto pen.
The auto pen. And I would love to have the Supreme Court have a ruling on the preemptive pardons.
Exactly. But my point is, it's like around every corner, even their excuses don't hold up, but still nothing because we're 10 months in.
Yeah.
And I get it. If you're going to do some sort of RICO conspiracy, that's what some people say. Maybe that takes time because you do have to get jail time, like convictions. We're not just talking. I mean, just to do arrests and then some Washington D.C. jury never convicts. Yeah. We don't want that either. Yeah. I mean, you really have to secure these convictions. I get it, but I'm impatient. And I don't trust. And the longer the time goes by, the more people are going to assume. Once again, the people surrounding Donald Trump are not actually interested.
Talk a big game.
In justice.
Talk a big game, but if they are not pulling through, if they're not, walking the walk here, then it is just all talk, and that's not what we signed up for.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the biggest elephant in the room over the last 10 months. When we get to Bondi's testimony where she did mention Epstein, like that's the biggest one where you're like, okay, it's difficult to look past, nor should we look past it. We have to admit that it was a huge error and still is to this day.
And it's the Democrats' Super Bowl right now. I mean, obviously they're talking about this, but even their own polling, Schumer was asked about that. Hey, 47% of all Democrats believe that this shutdown for what you're doing is wrong, and they've already got, a 30% approval rating, which means that what's happening right now, 15% of the population actually agrees with. The other 85% are open the government. This is stupid.
Yeah.
Don't add all of this money back in. You just took it out. So most people disagree with it. But Schumer's like, well, we've seen other polling. That's why I was like, we're going to ignore this polling over here. I've seen other polling but respectfully, and in their defense, Trump does that too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I've seen this other polling over here.
I know right now, and I can just assume this because the Democrats, that Jay Jones guy was wishing violence, to accomplish political goals. There are Democrats right now, no doubt, that hope a plane falls out of the sky right now so they can blame the gaps in air traffic control that are going right now. 100% they hope it so they can then, somehow blame Trump for it.
They're rooting for another Great Depression, Paul. They want to see Trump's economic policy send us into a Great Depression on paper, especially if they're a college student living at home in their parents' basement or living in college housing who gets a stipend or whatever they've got and they don't work. They're literally not living in the real world, but they are cheering for the downfall of the world, i.e., the United States, the leader of the free world. You are cheering for it because you don't know what the real world actually is. Yeah. You're cheering for this. And they're sitting there hoping that happens, which is why we see this anarchy. You see all of these people on the streets that are trying to restrict ICE agents from doing their job. You are seeing all of these people on the street saying, we should not be following these laws that are already on the books. Now, they don't say it that way.
Yeah.
We should not be following these laws. That's what we're seeing, and that's what leads to socialism and communism.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Here is the news, though. We covered this yesterday. This basically, we refreshed our feed in the middle of the live show yesterday,
Sure.
and we kind of already know some of this. Jack Smith, this is from Bill Haggerty. Jack Smith tracked my private communications and those of my colleagues during his witch hunt to investigate POTUS. Let's pipe this audio in and just take a listen.
Senator Haggerty.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership in making this happen. This is an extraordinary revelation that just took place this afternoon. My colleagues and I found out, all of us Republicans, by the way, that we were placed under investigation by this FBI, under the Joe Biden FBI that was led, I presume, by Jack Smith and his predecessors. This isn't the first time that it's happened, though. Senator Johnson just mentioned this. I served on the Trump transition team in Trump Tower in 2016. Senator Blackburn was vice chair of the transition committee then, as were probably a dozen or more members of Congress. To think that we were surveilled by the Obama FBI. This corruption runs deep, and it's gone on for far too long. And the fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans. They've decided to come after us. This is as partisan as it gets. The FBI and the corruption that's running there has to be cleared out. Thank God we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino there. This has to be addressed. It has to be resolved. It needs to happen today.
So, did he mention Trump Tower or just Trump Transition?
No, he said, Trump Tower, but
did he say Tower? Because I can't remember.
I don't know, but he was talking about the Trump transition.
They
team
bugged
there.
Trump Tower.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that's the reference there,
Sure.
right? If he said Tower. So, they spied, they wired,
Yep.
and they also, when Trump said they wiretapped it, and they said, we didn't wire. And then, of course,
They
we
spied
found
on
out,
my campaign.
we
They're
found
like,
out
there's
that they
no
did.
real evidence of
Yeah.
that. And like,
So they did it then, and they did it the next time. And, maybe they'll pay attention now that they're implicated. But, what are we going to get? Are we going to get more hearings? We're going to get, and this is just me being a skeptic. Like, the information's got to come out, criminal referrals got to come out. You got to have Pam Bondi and a Justice Department that actually do something about it. But if it's just hearings, and
I'm so sick of hearings.
sound bites that they get to clip into clips and then put in emails to send out for fundraising, that's what they do, and I'm fine with them doing that. That's part of it. But that to me seems to be the only real thing that comes out of it.
There's got to be fruit on that tree.
Yeah.
Like if you're growing this tree here and saying this and this and this. I saw Josh Hawley today saying to Pam Bondi, like, hey, this dark chapter of surveilling, active senators just because they have a Republican, moniker next to their name here, like this is a dark chapter that needs to end. We do not need to continue this on. So expose it, bring it all to light, arrest the people who did it, and let's never repeat this again.
Yeah.
Now, someone would argue that that's a little bit of a fairy tale, but I guarantee you this, Paul. If there's some arrests, some perp walks, some convictions, and some prison time for some of these people who would see the country burn rather than having a Republican in office, they would rather the country burn. If those people who do all of these nefarious things behind the scenes, if they end up in prison, that is going to curtail a lot of this crap in the future.
Well, and then it answers the question. Are we slaves or are we free? Because that's ultimately that I can't get the question out of my head. But there's some skeptics out there. Look at Sidney Powell, right? She was one of the first whistleblowers, or the first people that came forward in the wake of 2020 election, when all of a sudden, Joe Biden got all of the votes late at night after Trump was in the lead. She says, "Welcome to the club. There were many of us, including private citizens." Mm-hmm. Then you get General Mike Flynn, who also was framed for treason alongside Trump.
Any bill that's if there's some legislation that needs to be passed or whatever, it needs to be called the Mike Flynn legislation.
Or the people in Mike Flynn's trial, the government that deliberately withheld exculpatory evidence and were caught red-handed, not revealing it
with zero consequences.
Yeah, zero consequences.
Yep.
That's exactly right. All of a sudden, the GOP wakes up and they discover they got spied on. What's new? Nothing. These senators knew the whole time these things were happening and did little to nothing. Spare us your false pain and do something about it, please.
Mike Flynn just said it all, man. He just said it all because I believe him and I agree with him. You don't believe you think that the most controversial president that we've had in our lifetime, you believe that president didn't send up red flags for folks. A celebrity billionaire comes in, gets elected, and during that time, we see all of this spying. We saw it leading up to it as well. But then we saw all of this spying. We saw a fake intel report from a sitting president, Barack Obama, on the December 8th thing or December 7th. We've seen this. And you want to tell me that this is brand new information? Good for Mike Flynn. He is 100% right. Don't act like you're all shocked now that this stuff came out. It was new information. And where was this heat and fire when you knew that it was about the sitting president? Let's just say that you didn't know that it was you, that you were being surveilled. The sitting president or the incoming president was being surveilled. The incoming Republican leader, here in terms of his, what's the word I'm looking for? The Republican nominee, right? Running for president. All of these people, this man was being surveilled. Where was the fire then? Donald Trump has an R after his name just like you did. If you don't do something now, then you are as phony and fake as Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer.
Yeah. Well, and it's all left up to, again, what are they going to do? I mean, other than have press conferences and have hearings, right? I mean, I guess they could try to pass some laws. I'm so sick of hearings.
You said that earlier.
I know, but that's always. I mean, we're about to watch some of the Pam Bondi hearing, and it's fodder, and it's good, and it's fun, and I like it. I'm a political, guy. I like it, but at the end of the day, what are we even doing?
You know what hearing I got excited about was the Biden crime family hearings, right? You had the House, because we had the House the last 2 years of Biden's presidency, and what's his name? He's got the strong Southern accent that led that.
Louisiana, Kennedy, not Kennedy.
No. He's in the House.
In the House, a strong Southern accent in the.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, he led that up, and he was the one that was releasing all these documents. You found all of these shell companies. You found millions of dollars being funneled to a random Biden. Why was Joe Biden not arrested? You could say, well, he's got presidential immunity. Why was Hunter Biden not arrested for this?
Yeah.
Why did we not see arrest for every one of those Bidens who were receiving illegal funds? You know it was illegal because it was coming from Ukraine. It was coming from Russia. The mayor of the wife, whatever.
For the painting, yeah.
Yeah. And we saw the money was coming from China. This money was coming to LLCs owned by Bidens, who weren't even in that business. Mm-hmm. So you want to tell me that there wasn't a crime committed? How in what the hell is a hearing going to do for us?
Yeah, that's exactly
another right. Hearing. Well, if you're not arresting these people, you need to shut up.
Well, and I thought, the Biden DOJ, they did go after Hunter, you know what I mean, on whatever it was.
Over the tax evasion.
The gun charge.
And the gun charge.
Taxes or whatever. And that was just to make all of the big stuff, go away. It was totally a delay tactic.
It was so stupid. So that they could play the victim. It's all about playing the victim. But it's like, all right, well, millions of dollars went to. Tell me what this company was. Like, why was James Biden not brought in? All of these, all the 12 or 13, 11, 13, I don't know, however many. Like, why were these Bidens not brought in? Yep. Hey, what's this company for? You're the owner of it. What's it for?
Mm-hmm. Well, and you remember right before the election, you had Tony Bobulinski go on Tucker Carlson. This was in
Spilled it all.
Spilled it all. Had it all right there.
Yep.
Nothing.
There's all the evidence that you need. So, which gives me zero faith that anything's going to happen right now.
I mean, we've got Comey. He's going to be arraigned tomorrow. Great. That's fantastic. But what in the world? This is what's frustrating is all of this stuff. I mean, they may be finding secret documents. They are finding burn bags. And, when we had Congressman Crawford on, obviously that report had been ready for years, and they needed Tulsi Gabbard to declassify it and everything. All that stuff's great. There is this strategy out there, Rob, though, and I was talking about this earlier. There's some people that believe, well, we can't shock the public. We've got to drip, drip, drip this out. So it's acceptable when they see Comey in handcuffs, or they see Brennan or even Obama in handcuffs. Like, it's got to be slow. And I'm thinking, who at this point, in the wake of COVID, in the wake of Trump surviving an assassination, getting shot in the ear, Charlie Kirk not surviving assassination, who in this moment is going to change their mind from where they're at right now politically? Whether you're left, center, or right, you have an opinion about pretty much everything that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. You either loved Charlie Kirk and you loved the death of Charlie Kirk and celebrated it, or everybody is. I don't think slow walking it. Like right now, they're going to call you a fascist. And so I just think I think this idea of the public's got to have time to. I was like, no, everybody knows, and the people that don't know, what who cares? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to call you a fascist harder. I mean, I just feel like the delay tactics or whatever's going on.
If you're sitting there believing that you need to trickle out information so that it doesn't shock the public, then I don't think you're living in 2025, because I don't know, to your point, if anybody is shocked by what we're seeing. Mm-hmm. Really, we're not. We are seeing every skeleton be exposed for years. Like Hoover, used the FBI as a complete hammer.
Yeah, and this is way worse than that.
Yes, and this is infinitely worse than that. But Hoover would be rolling over in his grave if he knew that there was an information technology sort of epiphany that would come years later that would expose all of it. But then Hoover would also be laughing, saying, well, they know about it, and there's still no arrests. Mm-hmm. And it'd still be working. They'd still be doing his stuff.
There's not one leftist in this country. There's literally nothing that the government could release about James Comey that would convince a leftist to be like, oh, yeah, Comey is a bad guy. He needs to go to jail. There's literally nothing. And that'd be the same thing for any of the other criminals.
Yeah. You might get a centrist, because we saw some centrists who saw the reaction from the left to Charlie Kirk's death. They were like,
they repudiated their own. They said that's bad.
I will never vote Democrat again in my life because I saw your heart, kind of thing. Now, whether how legitimate that is, I don't know. It seemed sincere, at the time. We'll see. But I can tell you this: you're not going to be able to shock us into some sort of public mass hysteria of everything we thought was true is no longer true. Nobody's gonna, like, everybody's gonna be like, yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so this has been up on the screen for a while, but the CIA, released this intelligence regarding Ukraine, just once again reminding us that Joe Biden, like Rob's already said this, all of the stuff going on in Ukraine, just the news. Joe Biden's team blocked the CIA from distributing a report on son Hunter's Ukraine business dealings.
No.
Report raised concern about a double standard on foreign corruption, and Vice President's office request to block what was extremely rare and unusual. So, again, great. Glad that we have this. Glad that we have the report. It's fantastic that we know what we already know. Yeah. We literally already knew this, and that it was rare and it was rare and unusual. Hunter Biden and the Biden's Ukraine dealings was very unusual. I agree with that. Now, we get more specifics here, but again, first of all, nothing's going to happen to Biden, right? The guy literally is no longer sentient from what I can tell, and he's got brain cancer.
No, but I don't know that Biden was the one that was benefiting from all of this stuff. I think people were using his name.
Yeah, well,
because he hadn't been with it in a long time.
That's true.
Let's be honest.
10% for the big guy.
Yeah.
We do remember that.
Yeah, well, he's getting some money for it, but at the same time, he's not pulling the strings. It's the equivalent of someone who is going around talking about how their best friend is, Michael Jordan. Like, hey, my best friend's Michael Jordan. You may want to invest with me, right? They're trying to backpack off of this name. Well, obviously, Hunter Biden and his entire family backpacked off of that. But the family benefited financially because of the risk that they were taking with these shell companies. Undoubted. There's no way you don't bring in extra voices, extra chances for somebody to squeal. Right? You're not bringing that stuff in unless you need them because you're doing a little, smoke and mirrors kind of thing. We saw that it has been exposed, and there have been 0 arrests for it. Why? Why is Hunter Biden free at this point? The dude accepted millions of dollars from a foreign country because his dad was vice president at the time, right? All the way up to, that's because this started back in 2013, 2012, somewhere around in there, right? His dad is vice president. He's accepting millions of dollars, right? And then his dad becomes president. So you know that flood of money was coming into those coffers, and we saw it because Biden's auto pen was running rampant, and somebody wants to say, well, it was all of his staff. What if it's Hunter Biden doing that auto pen about this stuff?
That's a good point.
Behind the scene because dad has got the faucet turned on with this money.
Yeah. Well, all I know is I'm tired of hearing. I'm to the point now where I'm tired of seeing the documents and all the corruption and everything else. Because at this point, all it's doing is adding more clarity to what we already know. And so I'm kind of tired of it.
If there is another hearing rather than an arrest, I can't even describe to you how epic my eye roll would be.
I mean, if this is Jack Smith that's behind all of this, the revelations with the senators. I mean, I just can't imagine. I cannot imagine if the shoe was reversed, that there wouldn't already be some sort of, perp walk, or he's turning himself in at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
They tried with the former president, Paul. Yeah. They tried it. Jack Smith himself tried it with the former president. So you think if Kamala hadn't won?
If Kamala hadn't won, these senators were going to jail.
They were going to jail. Trump would also probably be in jail if Kamala had won.
There would have been another indictment. They would have.
Yeah.
That's exactly what would have happened.
Yeah. If Kamala had won, hadn't lost, I think we might have said that incorrectly, but if Kamala had won, this would be a totally different country. What would we see coming across the border? The biggest flood of new voters that you've ever seen.
And they would have given them citizenship if they joined the military.
100%. We would have seen every bit of this.
Yeah. Honestly, you can make the argument, oh man, it really would have been terrible.
That's why a lot of families, folks, when you want to try to say like, well, why do you believe in Trump? I don't particularly. I mean, I think Trump is funny sometimes. Yeah. But some of the stuff that he says, I just roll my eyes. I'm like, come on.
Well, and the phrase "believe in him" is not accurate at all. He's a man.
Right.
I just want law and order in the country, and I think he is the best person to have us the potential for that even to happen.
I agree with 95% of his policy positions. 5%, maybe not. I don't agree with. Versus Kamala, whereas I disagree with 95% of your policy positions, and I might agree with 5. Well, where's my vote going? And if I'm a family, which I am, if I'm a parent, which I am, if I am a business owner, which I am, election results from this past November were a relief. They were a sigh of relief. They were a moment to raise hands and say, thank God. Not thank God for Trump per se, but thank God for the policies that he's going to be bringing and the positive attributes that it's going to bring my life and my family's life. That's what people don't understand. They're like, oh, you just love Trump. You're just a cult for Trump. And I'm like, nope. Because J.D. Vance, if he were to take over and had the same policy procedures and stances that Donald Trump has, I'm absolutely.
I certainly had a sigh of
Same
relief when on election night. Yeah, I had a sigh of relief for sure. I think my first sigh of relief though was Butler, even in the aftermath.
Yeah.
Like when he survived, and I was like, he's going to win. And I think history.
It was crazy.
I think history, regardless of the RFK, new political coalitions, all of that stuff that happened, it was all great. But when he survived that attempted assassination, I was like, okay, he's going to win. And I think history will say that's the data point that really pushed him over the top. And that was, I mean, you know, we were this close to a civil war.
Oh my, Paul. You said it best. We would have.
And now what is the left saying? They're talking about civil war. They're talking about you can't send the Southern National Guards to our northern cities. They're literally saying you lost the Civil War, so don't send your Texas National Guard to Chicago or Portland. And on that, Kristi Noem is in Portland, arrived today to meet with ICE and DHS and Border Patrol officials. And she even, let me see if I can pump this in here, before the meeting started, offered a prayer to the Lord.
Time together, that you give us good fellowship, Lord, but that you'd also give us wisdom and discernment to make the best decisions, not just for the people that are here enforcing the law, but also for the citizens of this country. And Lord, I just ask that you continue to put a hedge of protection around these officers. Keep them safe, Lord, but that also that you would continue to bless each and every one of them and their families. And Lord, that you would protect the freedoms that we all enjoy, that were given to us by you. We love you and we praise you in your name. Amen.
Speaking of stark contrasts, the Secretary of Homeland Security in a Democratic administration would have never done that.
No.
Secretary of Defense or
They don't believe in God.
Yeah, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, said, is literally praying over his generals, praying over the troops, praying that the Lord would protect them. It's totally different. It's literally a night and day difference. Not perfect. There is no organization of men on this earth that's perfect. Sure. But it is an easy choice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to look at the person. You're going to look at the person rather than their faith. You're going to say, "Oh, well, you have faith," And I would say this, and this was something that you and I talked about off air yesterday, and it was like, and I went home and I had a lot of peace about something because I said, someone running like ripping on someone. Trashing someone,
spreading gossip,
and all of that stuff says so much more about that person than it does the subject, the one that's being talked about. And it's like, okay, you are going to sit here and throw stones at Kristi Noem and say that, oh, well, she shot her dog. That's the only thing they've got, right? Or that she's had a bunch of plastic surgery and all this stuff. Like that's what they say. Oh, she's a Barbie. She's not really a tough gal. And I'm like, well, she was a female rancher there. I would say she's probably pretty tough, But bottom line is they want to throw those stones at her and they want to say, well, she's not a real Christian. And I'm like, you don't even go to church. You don't pray. You believe that abortion is okay and you can just rip the baby's arms off while it's in the womb. Because I challenge you, if you believe in abortion, listen to an abortionist doctor, former one, who testified in front of Congress, explain the procedure of it. It will
Are
make
you talking
you
about Dr. Abby Johnson? Or another one. This
was a gentleman who had performed 700. He had performed 700 abortions, or maybe it was 7,000 abortions. I can't remember. It was an absurd number. And he said, he's like, at one point, I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is a human being that I just ripped apart. I get it that this human being was inside of another human being, but this human being has its own DNA. This human being had its own blood, right? It was getting blood from the mother, right? But it's this human being had fingers and toes It had hands, it had arms, it had a nose, it had lips. And I just ripped it apart because Mom said, I don't want it. You can't be for that and also for God.
Yeah, or in the case of what you were talking about, like it's those people that think that is okay.
Yeah.
That look at somebody like Christy Nome in that prayer and say, "Oh,
yeah.
she's not a real Christian. She's a hypocrite."
That's
it's
right.
Like, what are you
That's
talking,
right.
What are you even talking about, man?
Yeah, you're a hypocrite.
Oh man, it's insane. Stephen Miller he was questioned about the National Guard being sent to these cities, and I think he made an excellent point. And if there's anybody listening,
As he always does,
Dothan, Alabama, I thought this was. I drove through Dothan, I think, a year or two ago. It's a nice town.
Yeah.
Listen to this.
That this violence from the left is being provoked, their word, by the presence of federal officials. Think about how broken of a sentence that is, right? In other words, if tomorrow we went to, say, Dothan, Alabama, and there was a federal building there, and we put 100 police officers in front of it, it wouldn't be attacked. Nobody would throw rocks at them. Nobody would try to shoot them. Nobody would do anything. They would say, hello, good morning. Maybe they'd get them a cup of coffee before they go out for their shift for the day. They'd ask, how are your kids doing? How are your kids doing? The fact that Democrats think that their own base cannot contain their desire to inflict violence upon the mere sight. In other words, National Guard's not being sent there proactively. They're being sent there reactively to defend ICE officers under siege. So in theory, if ICE officers were in the building and the National Guard was in the building and nobody was violently attacking them, the only thing that you would see is there's a building, there's ICE officers, there's guardsmen. The violence is entirely rioters choosing to show up and wage violence at a specific federal building. They've handed out flyers. I saw one at Antifa flyer recently.
Yeah, that's a great point. Being reactive, the federal government with the guardsmen going in, that is being reactive rather than a proactive thing, as they are being accused of doing. Mm-hmm. Right, and they're not sending them to Dothan, Alabama, because there is nothing to react to.
That's right. And I loved that analogy. I think Stephen Miller's messaging is really strong.
He's good.
One of the best communicators in the White House.
You need to protect him because he is hated as well.
I know he is, but he is really good. And a long time ago, I think it was when Congressman Crawford first went to Congress.
Yeah,
he came back and did an interview with him, and I said, "What have you learned?" This was a long time ago because he's been there for a while. I said, "What did you learn?" And one of the things I remember him saying is he's like rural versus urban. He was like, it's the rural areas of this country. They have totally different needs, wants, desires, dreams, values. Yep. It's all totally different.
Yeah,
and that's what we're seeing come to a head. We are seeing that didn't used to be the case. I mean, obviously 50 years ago, cities were different than the rural areas, but we all still agreed on kind of the basics of society. There were different things, that differences about them, but certainly we agreed on men being men and women being women. That's the most extreme example. But I think you're seeing the chickens come home to roost. You're seeing the division. You're seeing how cities are places of. It's just more easy to do bad things in cities.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line. I mean, you see that in Scripture, by the way. You see that when Cain kills Abel. Cain doesn't want to be. So the Lord marks Cain. And Cain goes over here, this is before the flood, goes over here and he builds this great civilization. I can't remember what it was called. Great civilization, music, everything, and it just and they got so arrogant and they were blaspheming God and everything else. And then it's like, well, what's Adam and Eve doing, and their kid Seth, and they're in the rural areas. It's more agrarian, and they're waiting on the child of the promise. There's a clear juxtaposition, and it's right there, like literally right after the fall, right after the first murder. You have this rural city. Because if I wanted to go right now and tear it up on the town, if I wanted to go and sin as much as I possibly could, I'm not going to the four-way stop on a dirt road,
sure,
in a county somewhere. I'm not likely going to do that. I'm going to go where there's a lot of people. I'm going to go to a big city where I'm not going to be seen. I'm not going to be noticed. And there's convenience, and when there's convenience, there's idleness, and when there's idleness, there's just more opportunity for this stuff to go. And I know that may sound oversimplistic, but I think that's what we're now seeing. We're seeing the fruits of generations of that in our big cities being run by Democrats that have no problem saying there are no such thing as a moral compass, there's no such thing as social norms, and so now it's anything goes.
So what what it breeds, Paul, is the disconnect, as you said. It's a great point. You've got this disconnect between urban life and rural life, and where that stems from is, I think rural folks have the ability to visualize their life outside of the rural area because they see it on television. They see it, maybe they go on vacation and they go and see some Broadway shows in New York or something like that, or they go to the Windy City of Chicago on vacation. They see these big cities and they're nice to visit. You're like, hey, I'm going to go do some fun stuff because there's some stuff I could do there that I can't do at my normal home. But no way in hell I'm moving there. Mm-hmm. Okay? They know because they see you people and the way you live your life is not for me. I like the amenities here. Now, contrast that with people who see city life and only know city life, and then they look around and see a rural farmer who literally works 17 hours a day just trying to support his family. And they look at that and say, that guy's stupid. It's not, oh, I wouldn't want that life. He's got a tough life. I'm thankful for the crops that he's grown for us because if it weren't for that wheat farmer, I wouldn't be able to go get my dairy, or my bread.
Sorry.
My bread. I was thinking of like cattle farmer as well. But anyway, you're saying like it's not just I don't want that life. It's that person is uneducated. They are stupid. I don't know why they do it. And it breeds a video that I saw, one of the most ridiculous videos I've ever seen on the internet. And it was a girl who was every definition of a liberal, short pink hair, earrings, all of this stuff, and said, I'm going to say this right now. Being a barista is the hardest job on the face of the planet.
Oh, no.
And of course, that's being stitched with all of these people, and it's like a dude crawling out of a mine, right? And be like, man, are you okay? I see that you've been down under earth there for 11 days. It was bad. It's not as bad as being a barista, right?
Could be worse.
Could be worse, right? And so you look at it and you're like, you make coffee. You punch a clock. You're supposed to be there. You're told what time to be there. You're told what time you can leave. And if you work those hours to these hours, this is how much you're going to make. That's the only stress that you have, is there might be some stressful times where it got busy or something. You're not, but once you clock out, that stress is gone. Versus a farmer who is literally living his life and going to church every Sunday, hitting his knees, praying to God that there's not too much rain, or that there is some rain.
Or hail right as the cotton crop has come out.
Correct.
And the hail destroys the field.
Or that there is a market, as we learned a couple of weeks ago. There is a market for the sale of their crops. That's what they're worried about, and that doesn't stop because there is no time clock for these people. And you want to call them stupid? You want to call them, that's ridiculous that you would do all of that?
This is the general mentality that we are accusing them of, which
Sure.
I think is clearly accurate.
But
right?
it's not pulled out of any, I didn't pull this out of my hat here.
Yeah, no, you didn't. I mean, there's contempt for flyover country, and there's an arrogance about it.
So
why would we live this way? You must be dumb.
Right. I like to visit New York City. I don't want to live in New York City. They would never come to Northeast Arkansas. And if they did, they'd be like, oh my gosh, is there anything to do here? I'm just so bored. I don't know what to do or whatever. And you're like, well, we're driving through all of these fields. By the way, that's a bunch of cotton, and you're wearing a cotton shirt. You kind of need these people. I wouldn't call them stupid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call them useless. And all the people talking about the bailout, quote unquote bailout, and you're like, this is not like, what about the bailout of the Obamacare?
Mm-hmm.
That is one big bailout.
Yeah.
That's all that is. That is subsidizing people for not having sufficient insurance or whatever. I mean, I'm going on many different rants right now.
Again, I just thought that the distinction of, what Miller's saying here, Dothan, rural versus urban.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest divide
That's a good
right
point.
now. And I don't know what solves it. I know that the truth of the matter is, because Tim Pool has talked about Civil War, other people have talked about modern Civil War. The left's now saying that it's a Civil War, and I say if there was ever a true version of that, your cities are not going to get their goods.
Yeah.
Right? Because those cities depend on access to trade and access to routes actually getting that. So it would that whole situation wouldn't work out the way they think it
You're
would.
correct, because some of the best war strategy that you can ever do is starving out your opponent.
Yeah,
which we could do. And by the way, we're also, all of us own guns.
Yeah. There's also that. So here is this. We're going to start with the negative here. We have 10 minutes left. Breaking. Pam Bondi has now publicly testified that Jeffrey Epstein client list does not exist. This was that portion. Let's listen.
In February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House. Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files. And I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo.
Going back to the Epstein files, according to another whistleblower who made a protected disclosure to my office, you pushed the FBI to review approximately 100,000 Epstein-related records on an arbitrarily short deadline in March, and the FBI was directed to flag any documents that mentioned President Trump. Nothing came of that review until July, when DOJ and FBI released an unsigned memo stating, quote, there's no incriminating client list. Why was the July 7th memo unsigned?
The July 7th memo came from the FBI and the Department of Justice. Director Patel answered those questions very clear. And, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024. You fought that. Did you take money from Reid Hoffman, campaign donations, who was a huge Epstein friend? Why did you fight for years? Why did you fight to not disclose the flight logs, Senator Durbin?
I can tell you I did not refuse. One of the senators here wished to produce those logs, and I asked her to put it in writing, and she never did.
Yeah, I think Senator Blackburn would quarrel with you on that.
Well, I will quarrel with you as to Reid, somebody that you mentioned I never heard of.
Reid Hoffman.
So who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your...
I don't like that. I like some of it. I don't like all of it. I don't like it. I'm not going to discuss any of that with you. That one was the one where she should have said, I'm going to step outside of what I've been saying, that I'm not going to discuss any of those conversations with the president, to say that what you're saying right now never happened.
Never happened.
Yeah. If I'm going to step outside of that because that's ridiculous. I was never told to flag stuff
for all of the praise that she is getting, and she did have some good moments today. That one is
not good.
The Democrats are going to absolutely. I mean, it's going to be.
This is
crazy.
not going to go away. This is not going to go away, and this is going to be their overturning of Roe v. Wade for the midterms, right? Which is what they got.
They're going to try to do that.
You're going to try to do the same thing, right?
Gin it up. We'll see if they're successful.
We saw that because we were supposed to get this red wave, right? And it ended up being like a pink trickle, right? And it was because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the complete media blitz that took place for months leading up to that stuff, right? And so even if you've got conservatives who are pro-choice, like a Tomi Lahren, right, who is great. I follow a lot of her stuff, but she is a prominent conservative who is also pro-choice. That is her right to believe that way, and I disagree with her, but that's her right. And then you've also got some on the left, some Democrats, some liberals who are pro-life. That kind of stuff happens, but it is the most polarizing topic that we have. It's a 50-50 topic.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
So,
I don't know that there's been a real good.
Yeah, I would say that the Epstein thing is not going to be as powerful as that.
I agree. I completely agree with you. That and ultimately what I was trying to say is they're going to try to make it that way, which is what they're also trying to do with this government shutdown, and they're failing, in my opinion. And, of course, my algorithms may be betraying me, but I think that they're failing to sway the American public.
Did you hear what Alex Jones reported?
Jones
reported on the this whole Epstein thing.
No,
he thinks that he still is revisiting this. That Trump is not releasing the Epstein files because he wants to use them to get what he wants. Basically to keep the deep state at bay and actually get the things he wants accomplished.
I don't know.
And he says it's terrible. It's horrible. He shouldn't do it.
So he disagrees with it.
Yeah, he disagrees with it, but he's saying that that's what he thinks is going on here.
I think if that were true, I don't think Trump would have lashed out like he did. I think, because are we still talking about Epstein here?
Right.
Are we still talking about this kind of thing? If you've got this smoking gun that you're using to manipulate behind the scenes, then I don't think you try to throw water on it.
Yeah.
I think you look at it and try to say, listen, we've got to work through some stuff out there. We may release it. We may need to release this stuff,
Yeah.
And Like, I think you're publicly holding it over the people that you're trying to work behind the scenes.
Yeah, you may be right. I don't know. I just think I'm still, out of everything that's going on, we're sitting here clamoring for arrests. We celebrate that James Comey's getting arraigned tomorrow. We want more arrests. We want this and that or other. But there's this one issue that is it's an albatross, and it didn't have to be that way. And Pam Bondi's the one that kicked the stone off the hill that created this avalanche of people saying, "Oh, we're going to get them.
Right.
We're finally going to expose the human traffickers that have been controlling and blackmailing our politicians." Oh, no, just kidding. He didn't traffic to anybody except Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine Maxwell trafficked to him. And I'm sorry,
nobody believes
that's
that.
BS, and nobody believes that, and they're never going to believe that, Rob.
No, they need to eat the frog. They need to eat the frog. It's an expression in business where, hey, what's the worst thing that you've got to deal with? That's your frog. Eat the frog first thing in the morning, right? That's what they say. Like in business, eat the frog. Trump needs to eat this frog. And he can eat the frog right on the eve of the government reopening, whenever that moment comes, right, to try to bury it. But you need to eat the frog because this crap is going to constantly come up.
I agree. I totally agree. Folks, thanks so much for being with us. Rob, appreciate co-hosting. Once again, it's always great to have you on the show.
Glad to be here.
And be here. And, folks, make sure that you go to paulstalkshow.substack.com if you want to support the program. We'll give you a copy of Left Wing Will and the Red Pill. I want to shout out our sponsors. We've got Red Vive, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, T-Guard Bail Bonds. Call Cody Powers for that. And Sherrod Chiropractic We appreciate our sponsors. That's all the time that we have for this edition of the Paul Harrell program, and we'll see you tomorrow.